Welcome to this Age of Empires forecasted game. Today, spawning in the northeast corner of the map in orange, we've got 3DB playing as the Rus. And today's going to be going up against an expert, but not any old expert. It's going to be the Twitch chat expert. This is obviously, well, not obviously actually, you may not even know. This is actually beastyqt, one of the best players in Age of Empires 4, and so is 3DB by many regards. And this raises some important questions. I have a very important question, okay, so listen up. What I would love to know is, what do you guys watch? Do you guys actually watch YouTube exclusively, or do you watch Twitch as well? I'd love to know. So the way to know is drop a comment in the comment section below. If you watch YouTube exclusively, type a 1 in the comments. If you watch both YouTube and Twitch, type a 2 in the comments. Now, I'm obviously going to not say, like, you don't have to type a 3 in the comments if you watch Twitch exclusively, because that's a lie, because you're watching this right now, and this is on YouTube. So in any case, the reason why I chose this match is because I know we've been casting a lot of Hill and Dale recently, and it's not like the most exciting map, at least in my opinion. What is exciting is the matchup, and also the players, of course. But the matchup, in particular, the Holy Roman Empire versus the Rus, I'd love to see how this has all changed, because the Rus have been pretty strong. I think arguably the best civilization generally when you consider all the maps in totality. But I think Holy Roman Empire have been very strong for a long time. But what I have felt like with the Holy Roman Empires is there's kind of some strategies that they're sleeping on. I think feudal age aggression with this civilization is incredibly strong because of the eco bonuses that they get. And if you can imagine, they also get man-at-arms, which is only one or two civilizations get that. The Holy Roman Empire and the English, in the feudal age, that is. But speaking about the dynamics of this civilization matchup, the Rus and the Holy Roman Empire, the Rus are incredibly strong for many reasons. They've got a strong feudal age with the knights, and the large economy that they can get with the the Kremlin and the wooden fortress, boosting up the wood income. But I think talking about the dynamics really between the two civilizations, the Holy Roman Empire for a long time have been a civilization that rushes for Castle Age so that they can get those relics and really get those gold income coming in. But I think a lot of the other civilizations have had changes that make them deal a lot better against that, especially having access to the knights. That really puts the Rus in a very strong position. The knights are, I guess in a way, a very soft counter, not very soft, but a soft counter for the man-at-arms, so they can deal well against mass man-at-arms. It makes the Burgher of Rush a little bit more difficult for the Holy Roman Empire. Now, that leaves only one other fast castle option for them, and that is the Regnitz Cathedral. We're talking landmarks, of course. Now, the Regnitz Cathedral allows for more gold income. It does allow them to get the relics on the map a little bit quicker, but I'm not sure that bonus is strong enough as a justification for Russian Castle Age. Considering that the Rus, when they go to town center, which is a very common strategy for them, the economy really translates into a really nice power spike into like sort of the 15, 18 minute mark of the game. You know, being on 2 town center for that period of time, especially if your opponent has 1 town center, because if HRE, the Holy Roman Empire, are going to go Castle Age, they're going to stay with 1 town center. Now, what's really interesting with the dynamic of the civilization matchup is that if it goes into, say, the 25th minute of the mark of the game, where the Holy Roman Empire can reliably get the Imperial Age, and they can actually get the Palace of Swabia landmark, which is the landmark which gives them, it's basically a printer of villages. So cheap, very fast villager production, and they can ramp up the economy super fast. But don't forget that whole time they've been at a deficit if they're up against 2 town center. Obviously, we're assuming a lot of things. We don't know exactly how this is going to pan out, but with the Ark and Chapel, this kind of screams fast castle potentially for Beastie, because I mean, personally, I think that the Minework Palace it's been much of a meme, but we don't see it all that often. But when we think about it theoretically, the Minework Palace actually has access to upgrades which you cannot get in any other way for the Holy Roman Empire. But the Ark and Chapel itself has the ability to be replaced. Just make more prelates from the town center. Now, obviously, you have to idle your town center from villagers, but the 40% gather speed is incredible for this unit. So the Ark and Chapel is theoretically replaceable. The Minework Palace certainly isn't. Now, especially when you're going against a civilization like the Rus, the Minework Palace has some upgrades which increases the armor for the spearmen, and that is really strong against knights, of course, as a nice option. So we can see villagers going out to Stonehair for 3DB, so certainly going to be looking for that 2nd town center. What I have been seeing recently is a slight switch for the Holy Roman Empire in terms of strategy, especially against the Mongols. The HRE do incredibly well with a heavy feudal age, with going 1 TC, heavy feudal age with the Minework Palace. But obviously we're not going to see that today. beastyqt going for the Ark and Chapel. I wonder whether the HRE and the Castle Age timings and things have really started to fall out of fashion, or, I mean, it doesn't seem as strong as it once used to be. I think all the other civilizations have caught up. I think all the other civilizations have a way of dealing with that now. And certainly this does scream fast castle. He's going for the outpost just to protect himself. on that gold vein. So yeah, I mean, I'd be interested to see what you guys think about the civilization and the fast castle approach that they have. I don't think it's as strong as it once used to be, and I think we've seen that in recent castled games. I want to see how they do against the Rus though today, because the Rus obviously is another civilization which is very commonly played and is very strong at the moment. I'll be interested to see how the Holy Roman Empire fare up against them. Now, I would also like to take this opportunity to say that if you've been enjoying the cast on the channel, I am looking to hopefully continue, and I know a lot of content creators have kind of dropped out of Age of Empires 4 at the moment. And maybe I'm trying to hopefully sort of fill that gap a little bit. I'm actually enjoying it as well very much. So if it's something that you enjoy this content, do give the video a thumbs up. It's completely free, really helps the algorithm. And also maybe drop a comment, maybe an emoji, your favorite emoji. Certainly helps me out and helps the growth of the channel, makes it nice to do, you know, when you have a decent viewer count. And also it does help pay some bills, so it's pretty nice for me. Alright, 2 scouts against 3DB's singular scout. Oh, hang on a minute, what's this guy doing? Or lady, rather. Actually going to be starting to build some more, so 3DB wants to wall his opponent in, and I think they're smart. So one thing that used to be, well, is kind of possibly still strong, but I think used to be stronger before, is that the fast castle for the Holy Roman Empire is very much, you know, directed at getting those relics. And obviously if you're going to face up against the HRE, the one thing you want to do is try and deny that as long as possible. You don't want those relics coming in. The whole reason for the Holy Roman Empire going for the castle age are those relics if they go for the Regnant's Cathedral, which is a quite distinct possibility here. We'll have to see. I mean, I don't know exactly what he does, but you can see it's definitely a fast castle build with the villagers on gold. And beastyqt he does this a lot with the Holy Roman Empire. Now, I've not seen beastyqt play a heavy feudal age with Holy Roman Empire before. I'll be pretty excited to see that. I have seen 3DB actually incidentally play very heavy feudal age HRE, so be interested to see how this one pans out. 3DB going to be losing that singular scout. We've actually got 2 militia coming in as well to support that villager. These 2 units are new for the Rus, coming out from the Kremlin for a bit of food, but in many ways it's been very broken. But as I say, broken, these guys are broken down, they've perished, they've died. So they're a unit that can be summoned for a bit of food, but they die after a period of time. So it's one of those things, it's kind of one of those buttons, rescue buttons I like to call it, especially if they're under a lot of pressure. They can just press the button and they will do a good job for you. It's going to be the Regnant's Cathedral, 7.5 minutes on the clock. Going to rush that up and look to get some of those relics. Now, one of the strategies that used to be employed by civilizations against the Holy Roman Empire is walling around the relics. I'm not sure any of that has happened just yet. At least not the ones that are closest. I mean, it would make sense to go for these ones first. There is a villager there. He's trying to wall them in. And I think he might get these walls up, actually, because Beastie doesn't have vision in that area at all, actually. And I think, speaking of vision, I think he might have just, yeah, lost 2 more of those militia. Does have a knight on the field. Needs to be careful not to lose it to the 2 spearmen. And we see a stable and archery range, the common units for the Rus. They love that combination, you know, knights and archers is really, really nice for them. But we need to talk about something. Oh, this frame stuttered there. I don't know what's going on there, I'm afraid. Hang on a minute, let me just pause that. Hopefully that fixes itself. Okay, wait. Okay, we're back. Slight stutter of the frames. Hopefully that fixes itself. Okay, apologies for that. It looks like we're back, seemingly, with the frames back up again. Apologies for that, but hopefully it wasn't too much of a disturbance. In any case, speaking of disturbances, well, the castle age is now in play for the Holy Roman Empire. And of course, getting those prelates nice and early. Now, this is actually a new change. The prelate wasn't a unit that used to be able to be trained from the Regnant's Cathedral. A relatively new change. It wasn't there at the beginning of the game, so that does make the Holy Roman Empire get those prelates out a little bit quicker onto the field. Another option that we have seen people do is actually make those prelates from the town centre and get them on top of those relics to pick them up as soon as they go to the castle age. But then, of course, you idle your villager production. Speaking of villager production, well, the second town centre on the deer pack here for 3DB means that there is a 7 villager lead, which is doesn't sound like a lot, but actually over time that will continue to grow and become very significant. And nicely for BC, he's actually going to keep this open, and we'll be able to get that relic. So the walling, unfortunately for him, hasn't paid off. Did delay him a little bit. Had to go the long way around, but he gets it in any case. So that's less than ideal for 3DB. And that first relic has now been picked up. The good thing for the Holy Roman Empire is that once they do get to the castle age, like, his units are just better at this point. You know, they are castle age units. And 3DB going for 2 town centers means that he hasn't had like a great amount of production. Obviously, he's been delayed with that, but there comes a point where this economy really starts to fund that military. It's just not there yet. That little spike just doesn't feel there at this point in the game. It's probably around the 12, 13, 14 minute mark of the game where the economy starts to really fuel and pressure and give the benefits of the extra military on the field. So They're probably going to go around the west. I'm not sure. That's a bit of a long path. I'm not sure why that's happening. Oh, there's a wood line. Is that actually blocked off? I'm not sure. I think that looks blocked off. But it's certainly a long way around. But he'll be able to obviously get out there with the knight and the 2 spearmen pretty simply. And spearmen getting engaged with each other. 3DB. They could just, again, deny the relics being picked up. There's one here that he's trying to protect. We can see the military numbers starting to creep up for 3DB, but don't forget he is dealing with feudal age units that are at his disposal compared to the castle age units for Beastie. So B will certainly want to try and keep up the numbers of units and not lose them too cheaply, because he does need to get to the castle age himself. What this often kind of manifests itself with is the Rus, once they do get a strong economy, funds that castle age. As long as he keeps his army alive, he will actually then be able to upgrade them to the castle age units, and that will be incredibly strong. He just needs to keep them alive and make sure he stays alive, in case the Holy Roman Empire try and pressure, which they could potentially do. But what's different about the strategy going Regnus Cathedral is, of course, he doesn't have huge amounts of military production right off the bat. He's just more focused on getting the relics. Once he does get the relics, though, things can really start to kick off with the gold income coming in. Snipes that spearman nicely with the archers there, 3DB. But this is castle age units. The only way for 3DB to win this really is just to outnumber, which he is actually technically doing right at this minute, and denies that second relic coming in, which is huge. And he's going to continue to push this back. He's fighting castle age units with feudal age units just by pure numbers, and this is obviously funded by the economy. Now almost 12 villages ahead, but you have to factor in that the 40% gather speed has been working very, very nicely for the Holy Roman Empire, somewhat nullified by the fact that the lumber camps are bringing 20% extra wood, and I think that's the really main bonus that the Rus get, and obviously the bounty system that they get, which I can't elaborate too much on because I can't remember it from the top of my head, and the user interface, unfortunately, it doesn't give us that information. Speaking of information, well, there's no scout with these units, but he's going to head forward and scout himself with the units and see what damage he can pick off. This could be a bit of a strange battle, actually. It'd be a difficult one for B to win, because he is still dealing with feudal age units compared to the castle age units for Beastie. It does have a scout there now, actually. When did he get there? I didn't see that. In any case, getting that good vision. And I think Beastie might want to try and push this, because he just has the better quality units. In terms of upgrades as well, he's got some blacksmith upgrades, Beastie. He's got the iron undermesh, which won't help him if he takes a fight directly here, because there's no ranged units. But if those archers do start to come across the map, then that'll pose a problem for Beastie. I think at this point, Beastie needs to do some damage because of the economy looking very strong for the Rus, and there's going to be a nice window for B just to tech up. He just doesn't need to fight. I think B doesn't want to fight unnecessarily. He might want to take this fight, though, because he is outnumbering Beastie. Question is, are those spearmen going to join the fight? Yeah, he needs to be careful, because those spearmen, those will rip through those knights. And the good thing for B, is often a very good thing, is to wall up. It's really important if you're going to be behind on the tech up. He's been behind the castle age for a very long time now. It's been about 6 minutes, actually, considering things. That's a long time. So the walls obviously will help him defend himself, and he needs to keep those units alive so he can upgrade them to castle age units. Speaking of castle age, that's what's going to be happening very soon. Going up with the high trade house, and that'd be a nice bit of food income with the deer, increase that bounty, but also get that gold income from the wood. That is one other thing that they get quite nicely, the gold income from the hunting cabins. It's certainly beneficial for the Rus. Not quite matching that 40% gather speed, but 40% is quite crazy from the prelates. I wonder whether this is going to be a decisive factor in any fight taken, the prelates healing up the units. That could be pretty strong. Let's take a look at some of these upgrades. So, having inspired warriors could be something that Beastie might consider. It's relatively cheap-ish, 100 food, 250 gold. But it will be able to inspire units, so improving their armor by +1 and damage by 15%. That's pretty strong when you think about it. Oh, we're talking about armor and units and aggression. There's a bit of a fight here happening. Rus with the early knights. These are feudal age knights. I'm not sure why he's taking this fight. It's going up against castle age knights with... that did not end well for Rus, and he needs to back off. There's no need to fight this. He needs to just go back behind the walls and upgrade them to castle age units. A little bit, I guess, impatient there in some ways for 3DB. Now, talking of relics, it's actually only 2 relics have been picked up so far, so B's done a great job of denying those relics incoming. I think he loses this one, though. He's going to lose that villager, unfortunately, but now this is a nice opportunity for the Rus to push back, because he's got castle age units. So now it is castle age units versus castle age units. The only concern is that, well, the lack of villager production for Beastie has meant that the funding of military units has been quite nice for him. So he's going to be stacking up with a lot of units compared to his opponent. As you can see, 34 units to 19. And I guess the Rus really need to be careful not to lose too many in a fight because, well, Beastie does have the military numbers advantage as well at this point. And it takes a little bit longer for the economy for the Rus to really translate in military numbers. But when we look at the food income, the wood income, the gold income for the Rus, it's still a little bit better than the HRE despite all those relics coming in. The relics do actually make quite a bit of difference for the Holy Roman Empire. As you can see, it actually increases 100% more gold with the relics when they're garrisoned. So it's very strong, but 3DB actually starting to be a bit more aggressive. He's got the mobility, so not necessarily the case that he has to fight. It's just putting some pressure. But with this villager lead, 48 versus 73, it's a bit tricky for the Holy Roman Empire. The one thing we did talk about the earlier part of the cast is the potential for the Imperial Age for the Holy Roman Empire, because that will actually narrow this gap, this deficit of economy very, very quickly. And I think actually this could be a nice way back in for the Holy Roman Empire in this game, because he's very far behind in economy, and he just won't survive if this persists for too much longer, because, you know, 3DB is going to be able to spam out units very quickly with this economy behind it. But if Beastie can hold on for a bit longer, he's got all the relics, it sets him up very nicely for the late game. But he does need to survive a bit longer, use some resources to get to that Imperial Age. It's still a heavy investment, despite the Palace of Swabia being a cheaper way to get to the Imperial Age. And then he'll be able to print off villagers. But that won't be enough, because you'll need some time for those villagers to come out and actually gather and kind of recover some of the eco deficit. As I say that, the farming transition is looking super, super nice for the Holy Roman Empire. 40% gather speed on these guys. It's actually really, really strong. I can't understate how strong that really is. If you think about it, 40% gather speed, it's super, super strong. But the economy is still looking pretty decent for both sides, and I think it will be the Palace of Swabia for beastyqt. There it is, placed on the wood line, and it's going to be able to pump out those villagers very quickly. He's actually using a lot of the villagers off of farms to get that up as well. He wants that quick time. But the benefit of this is not only catching up the economy, is also the military. It's going to be able to get elite knights, which will deal a lot of damage. But the good thing for the Rus is that he's actually gearing up to get a lot of spearmen, and that will deal quite nicely for the knights. They are obviously slower than movement speed, and so that's something they need to consider in taking in sort of good strategic fights. But with the Palace of Swabia almost built, that could be a problem for the Rus, it has to be said. I think now at this point, the way this game is going to manifest is it's going to be decided very quickly, I think, because Rus are going to be on a timer. The reason why I say that is because I don't think the Rus are going to be able to get to that Imperial Age anytime soon. Not with the amount of production buildings he's got, not like how seemingly he's going to try and push. I think the way this game is going to manifest is 3DB is going to push heavy and he needs to do damage. The trouble is, there's a timing. He's got a small narrow timing before the upgrades come in. As I say that though, the horsemen are getting upgraded to veteran. I wonder how quickly beastyqt will get these up to elite knights and elite spearmen. That will be very problematic for Rus if he gets that. But you can see the military numbers now. We talked about it before, how the economy now is funding that. We're at the 18-minute mark, 52 army versus 38. And so he's got that military presence. He's also got a couple of these warrior monks healing up, and they'll be able to actually do some damage in fights as well, and really boost up things. So they'll be actually be able to support those knights and the spearmen after they attack their enemies. So that might be a difference maker. We'll have to see. I wonder if there are any prelates. There are 3 prelates involved as well. I wonder if he actually got that upgrade in the end. He didn't. It didn't get inspired warriors just yet. But yeah, as you can see the economy starting to narrow here. The difference, 66 to 90. And 3DB spending all his resources. He's certainly going to go for a very heavy Castle Age push. I wonder whether he's got a market, because he is seeming to float a lot of gold. Might want to buy some food with that. We'll have to see. What's interesting is that neither player have gone for a keep. Neither player have gone for that strategic kind of positioning. Although, as I say that, looks like beastyqt is going to go for those cannon emplacements in the outposts, which I absolutely hate. Those things are so strong. It deals so much damage. But speaking of damage, I think B needs to do some. We'll see. We'll see what he decides to do and what timing he decides to push. Almost 20 minutes on the mark. Let's go for the sacred sites. Okay, that's interesting. He's going to go for a town centre. Now, this will benefit the situation giving emergency repairs for these outposts. And there's another timing issue here, because obviously it takes a bit of time for these outposts to get those cannon emplacements. And I wonder whether B is going to start jumping on these before they come in. As you can see, our military numbers looking pretty nice. 78. And with the 2 town centre, 97 villagers. I think if B pushes now, there's a good chance he actually overruns. The only problem is that these guys are going to be made elite very soon. Well, this is a spearman upgrade he's going for now at this point. And I mean, I guess that makes sense in a way because he recognized, he's probably seen how many spearmen that B has got. He's actually going to go for rams as well. Now, rams have been doing incredibly well at doing a lot of damage because of the fact that, well, they just add a lot of damage per second, right, to buildings. If Beastie's going to fight this army composition, if he focuses on the rams, his army will just be shredded by the Rus. He's going to get some palisade walls around the outposts as well, just to deny those melee units getting in. There are no trebuchets. He's going to dive in. I don't think B wants that to happen. Oh, there's actually a Wallalow potential here. There is a prelate. It's going to get the Wallalow off. When is it going to go? Goes for it now. B backs off. Well, back off, B. B, what are you doing? Uh-oh. He's going to lose a few. Oh, okay. He only lost 4 in the end. Could have been close, though. The outpost is going to be dealing out a lot of damage, especially with the relic inside. But here come the rams. The rams should do a lot of damage. We've talked about this before, how Beastie cannot afford to focus on the rams. It means the rams should be able to do damage. But it's the army versus army. There's actually a decent number of archers and crossbows there for B, looking to take out some of those units. Now the knights are just Castle Age knights at this point. Is going up against Imperial Age elite spearmen. But the Rus knights with Boyar's fortitude, they're doing a decent job. He's actually got it as well. No Castle Age upgrades from the blacksmith. But Boyar's fortitude is the big difference maker. He's actually already upgraded that outpost as well. Has emergency repairs. That upgrade, I absolutely hate that tech. Emergency repairs, I have to say. But it's working well for Beastie at this point. He's going to try and torch this one down as well. Military down numbers, look at them. 78 for the Rus, only 6 for beastyqt. He's lost his army completely. Holy smokes, it looks like the Palace of Swapia wasn't enough to bail him out and get that economy rolling. And even with the elite upgrades to the spearmen, it's just not been able to do enough damage and hold. And now here come the rams, and we're heading into the 22nd minute of the game almost. I think he's going to lose this town centre, but with only 10 military on the field. Look how much he's going up against. Oh, the militia are being drafted in as well. 20 of them. This is such a strong push with this magic button coming in. I mean, a lot of them are going to die to the cannon outpost, but these guys will die anyway. They're throwaway units, and that's what he's going to do. He's going to throw away these units to break in, and if he breaks in, that is a huge problem. A couple of lance connector for the Holy Roman Empire, but 3DB can continue to produce because of the economy that is built up throughout the whole game. 3 barracks on the front lines, continuing to add in those spearman numbers. Even looking to get the sacred site as well. He's going to push in now. I think the militia are almost dead. I think a couple of them are still... No, they're still there. They're fighting. He's fighting with the militia as well, which is absolutely huge, getting the maximum value. Horsemen aren't going to be enough, and not against these spearmen, despite being... they're only veteran horsemen. Even elite horsemen, to be honest, would probably be shredded by these veteran spearmen. The Rus breaking into the Holy Roman Empire base. And there it is, ladies and gentlemen. beastyqt taps out. What's a fascinating game. I think Holy Roman Empire have to change their approach. Hope you guys enjoyed this casted game.